when I'm done, we should peer pressure Blair into playing something on the ukulele. That's not part of the story. This is the story, The Plague. I mentioned to you, post-head, that your cock tasted like Play-Doh. I told you this as your cum dripped down my chin, and I smiled and laughed. What were you doing, using your daughter's Play-Doh as a makeshift pocket pussy? I teased after I swallowed. I later found out what or who you had been doing, though it was too late for me at that point. The following morning, I awoke alone at 4 a.m., coughing and choking. It felt as though I had swallowed needles or shards of glass. But when I spit into the sink, nothing came up. Throughout the day and night, the pain in my mouth and throat grew progressively worse. The following day, I awoke in a sweat and choking. I made an emergency trip to my doctor. My temperature now read 102, which was rather alarming to us both. But the true shock came when she peered into my mouth to inspect. As she did, she jumped back and gasped as though she had discovered a monster lurking there. "What have you been eating?" she demanded. Well, I was simply too tired and weak to explain to my dear, sweet physician that what I had in fact been ingesting was your thick, throbbing, Play-Doh-scented hog. Everything is white in your entire mouth and throat. It looks like you've eaten like a whole bunch of cotton, she explained, and then she ordered a strep test. The urgency in her eyes is what scared me most. She performed the strep test amidst my fits of gagging, but when the results returned, they were negative. She admitted that she had never seen anything like this before and suspected that it might possibly be mono. She tested for that as well as HIV, but those samples needed to be sent to a lab, so as a consolation prize, she gave me a tincture to take twice per day for my cotton mouth, and I returned home to shiver and perspire alone. The next day, I awoke to my beloved cat biting my ear and sniffing my breath. I was drenched in sweat. She pawed at my hair as if to brush my sweat-soaked hair off my forehead and looked into my eyes with deep concern. I had forgotten to feed her, which was practically impossible. I stumbled to the bathroom sink, my mouth and throat dry as a bone-picked bear, and as I came up from the sink, I caught sight of my reflection and gasped a hollow death rattle. My complexion was now gray, but that was not the true terror. What was most shocking of all was that my throat glands had now swollen to the size of golf balls. My neck was thick and hard, and my eyes had become minuscule pits within the bloated swelling of my face. My temperature read 104. As I floated to my car to drive myself to the emergency room in the heat of mid-July in Houston. The emergency room doctor performed another strep test amidst more fits of gagging. And after yet another negative result, she resolved to give me a 10-day round of penicillin. She told me that it was my best option and that she could almost bet that what I had was rheumatic fever. I attempted to explain to her that I was allergic to many antibiotics. "Do this," she firmly directed as she gently gripped my "Do this," she firmly directed as she gently gripped my shoulders. "You will be okay." It sounded as though she were trying to reassure herself. On the fourth day, I was only worse. I thought about dying. My tongue was now black, which I promised myself was not from an Ebola infection, but from the antibiotics. So too was the bumpy, inflamed rash along my neck and jaw, and my heightened temperature, which now read 104.6. Friends called to check in. I couldn't speak. They left items on my doorstep, which I didn't collect and were left to bake in the heat. My mother texted consistently. I lay, mostly subconscious, wrapped in fits of fever dreams. I dreamed of our first night together. I thought you'd worn a condom. You came so quickly. 3 thrusts. Then came. We had met through mutual friends and spent at least a month dating before that moment. We had talked and laughed endlessly, several 6-hour-long dates. We hadn't wanted to leave each other. I had gotten a terrible black lung cough after that first night. You said you had it too, but we recovered. Besides, we had both made it clear before that act that we were STD-free. So what did we have to worry about? Indeed. I awoke at 4 a.m., drenched once more, then fell into another fitful dream of our accident. A month or so after our first fuck, you had me on all fours. 3 thrusts in, and you paused, breathing shakily. You couldn't contain it. You came so fast. You pulled me up by my hair, hugging me from behind and kissing my neck. I love fucking you told me. That was the time you said that the condom had come off inside me. Get it out, get it out, get it out. I yelled as I got back on all fours to have you manually extract it. And you did. Or so you claimed. You laughed through it all. You thought I was hilarious. I had the strangest yeast infection after that. I didn't itch or really burn. Just a white coating over my entire coochie like a shellac. And globs of white discharge. I made a full recovery from that ordeal after a couple weeks of self-care. On day 5, I awoke abruptly from my phone's vibration beneath my head. I must have rolled onto it in a fit. It was a text from you. It was the first time in a couple days since you'd messaged me. You asked me how I was, and I told you, not much better. You responded with, yikes, and do you need anything? I don't remember if I responded to you. I then fell back into another fever dream of you and me. I was on top this time. I wanted to tell you that I loved you. I love was all that came up. My throat felt tight, choked by an invisible grip. I love fucking you so much, you yelled before you came. We had been dating for almost 4 months. I knew that we had said neither of us wanted to be polyamorous. I knew that both of us said we weren't dating anyone else. Yet, perhaps the word dating was the loophole I had overlooked. Fucking was the word I should have used. On day 8, you came over, bringing me 7 bottles of lime Topo Chico, which is all that I'd asked for. The consensus was that I would survive, although I had lost a bit of weight due to my inability to swallow. I was also still running a mild temperature from my penicillin allergy. My cat, though, had stayed by my side through it all, sleeping, curled up as close as she could possibly get, waiting on the bathroom mat while I showered. She had never let me out of her care. But you and I broke up. We didn't have a chance in all that hell. 9 years later, I was still amongst the living. I was attending an event where a story of mine was being performed. Your ex-lover and best friend just so happened to be hosting this event. We had met each other soon after you and I had began dating, and they had known that you and I had been dating at that time. I had attended a few of their shows with you and even shared a meal with them. I had known that they would be performing in the upcoming show, and still I forced myself to go. I knew that they would be announcing me as their job required them to do, and I knew that they would have to hold my name in their mouth and laugh and smile. And I knew that you would likely be there too, lovingly smiling back at them. I attempted to prepare myself for that moment, though I knew it was impossible. And when that moment came at last, my executive functioning just short-circuited as they held my name in their mouth on stage, as they offered what little they knew of my younger self, advice for the audience to hear, appreciate, and laugh along with. As they spoke, all that my tongue could taste was the salty yeast of Play-Doh. All that my throat could feel was the tight grasp of death. And all that my mind could recall was their shit in my mouth, gradually killing me as everyone laughed and loved them. Thanks. Ukulele. Oh, she doesn't even have it.